One night to be confused, one night to speed up truth. We had a promise made, 4 hands and then away, both under influence. We had divine sense to know what to say. Mind is a razor blade to call for hands of above, to lean on. Would it be good enough for me now?
Oh yeah, wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Wait, Mr. Postman, Mr. Postman, look and see. Oh yeah, is there a letter in your bag for me? Please, I've been waiting a long time. Oh yeah, since I heard from that guy of mine. There must be some word today from my boyfriend so far away. Please, Mr. Postman, look and see if there's a letter for me. I've been standing here awaiting Mr. Postman so patiently for just a card or just a letter saying he's returning home to me. Please, Mr. Postman, look and see.
Hi, my name is Marie Kidrick and I'm a transition year student in the Sacred Heart School, Westport. Everybody that lives in Westport knows that lots of people come here to visit. They send postcards back to friends and family showing how pretty and attractive the place is. But what makes Westport so pretty and attractive? Here is what one tourist thinks.
Well, you keep the place very clean and very tidy. You obviously throw your rubbish in the bin, but it's great for the environment.
So are we super clean in Westport? Does everyone put their rubbish in the bin? Or what is the real story?
Westport has a national image of being a very clean town. There may even be the perception that the citizens of this town are cleaner than citizens in other towns around the country. But the reality is that Westport Town Council spends a lot of money cleaning the town and keeping it looking as well as it does.
Now let's welcome Westport Tidy Towns. And of course their chairperson Elsie.
Westport has a very well organised and dedicated Tidy Towns committee. They have rotas every week and they're out cleaning the streets and cleaning all the different parts of the town on a regular basis. The Town Council also spends a lot of time and money cleaning the streets.
You're simply the best.
The resources that we provide to go into litter amount to about 250,000 each year. Westport won the National Tidy Towns competition in 2001, and since then we've won a number of major heritage and environmental competitions. I think one of the primary reasons why we've been successful is the investment of the Town Council in Westport. For many, many years, our Town Council have committed a huge level of their annual budget towards street cleaning, and they're very committed to continuing that. And that's quite often at the expense of other services. We probably have a much higher investment in street cleaning in Westport than in other towns of similar size. We're aware that the other two towns in Mayo, Ballina and Castlebar would have a much smaller level of investment in street cleaning, and we have checked with Clonakilty, who would be a similar sized town to Westport and would also be a tourist town, and they're spending about 105,000 in the year on street cleaning, so it's actually probably about 40% of what we're spending here in Westport.
Money, 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 must be funny in the rich man's world. Money, 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 always sunny.
So a lot of money and effort goes into keeping Westport clean, but the environment is a lot more than just this. What do you think it is?
The environment is my home, where I go out, the trees, the animals, rivers, the fields, people building. I think that's it.
I think getting up in the morning and breathing in the clean air and drinking clean water and washing your hands with clean water is what the environment is about.
And the environment is like the area around us and the trees and the animals and the air we breathe and stuff.
The environment is everything that surrounds me, the trees, the grass, the air. My school is the environment, my house is an environment.
The environment is the world around us, the trees, the air that we breathe, what keeps us alive.
Our whole surrounding, the quality of air, the quality of the ground that we walk in and the quality of the buildings that we live in.
The environment is the world around us, the trees, the sea, the air, the ozone layer.
So the environment is everything around us, but did you ever wonder what sort of an impact young people have on it, particularly when it comes to litter? Did you ever notice that some of the worst spots in town for litter are where we hang out?
We'd have two major black spots in town, which would be outside McGreevy's and we'll say McLaughlin's. Well, the other one probably would be Carabake Stores on the Castlebar Road. That would be where they congregate at lunchtime and before and after school. Those would be the black spots really. The chewing gum is probably, it's harder to deal with than the litter problem because it actually sticks into the paths. And now we'll say at McGreevy's now we have nice paved paths, you know, and the chewing gum is very unsightly because it actually, when it dries out, it turns white.
She's a rebel, she's a saint, she's the salt of the earth and she's dangerous. She's a rebel, vigilante, missing link on the brink of destruction.
This is disgusting, isn't it? Look at all this chewing gum around here. So we're just decided to count the amount of chewing gum in this small space here. Lads, will you help me?
No. Suppose. Okay.
That seems to be all the gum. There's 98 pieces in this square.
This is terrible. Just in this one spot here, we found nearly 100 chewing gum. And the worst thing about it is there's a bin right beside it. Why didn't they just put it into the bin?
The takeaways as well would be another aspect of it, where there are bins provided outside the takeaways, but unfortunately they're not used.
According to me anyways, I would say that have a negative effect, and the reason being is because the fact after their discos, teenage discos in Algor is a very bad mess, and after the Blue Ton they're a very bad mess. They don't know how to use a bin.
Watching the people get left
It's a real shame that sometimes us young people make a mess of the place. When we're on a night out or with our friends, we seem to forget about caring for the environment. But that's not the full story. Most of us do care a lot about it and have a really positive effect. And some adults in Westport acknowledge this.
I think young people have a very good impact on the environment in that they bring new life, young life, into town. I think there's far more positives that should be associated with the youth than with the negatives, because they're really on a learning curve themselves.
The youth relate to the environment, and I would say very well. I would say that most of the young people that I know have very strong views on the environment and how it's been abused by so many. But I think the up and coming generations might change all of that.
Okay, from the Sacred Heart School, we've got the Brazilian Carnival. Okay, here we have the Sacred Heart School in Westport.
One of the most positive effects young people in Westport have on the environment is through the Green Schools programme, which is running in all our primary and secondary schools.
I think young people have a lot of positive effects, because when other young people see people doing, like picking up litter and helping out with the Green Schools, the other children that don't know anything about that cop on and do the same thing, and it also brings the environment home, and people recycle at home and conserve energy and turn off their TVs at night and stuff.
You must have
Hi,
pressure.
Sorry sir, can we interrupt your class for a second, President? Thank you.
As you sort the Tetra Packs, we take out the straws, empty out any liquid, and we put the Tetra Packs in the Tetra Pack bag and put the straws in the bin.
I'm sorting out cans. We crush our cans. I'm sorting the plastics. There are two types of plastic. Type 1, which is the soft plastic, and type 2, which would be the hard plastic. The paper was put in the wrong bin. This should have been put in the paper bin. And the rest of the stuff cannot be recycled. The Capri Sun in particular.
I'm proud of the way that in the first year that we were in the Green Schools project, we reduced our litter by over half, so we're down to 1 wheelie bin. And also this year, while we're doing second green flag for energy, we changed to electricity, and that's good because it's wind energy and not oil, and so I think that's really good.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many
The difference it makes is wind is a renewable source of energy and oil and peat aren't, and they will eventually run out and there'll be nothing to heat the rooms.
Hey ma'am, I'm home.
I've been on the Green Schools Committee for about 3 years in the Sacred Heart School since we started. And once we had the recycling up and running in the school, I'd come home and I'd tell Mum about it, and then we decided we'd start at our own house. So we started recycling, and now we recycle nearly everything that's recyclable.
The Green Schools at the Sacred Heart School did influence us doing our own recycling, because Fiona would come home with information and tips on what they were doing in the school. So it did encourage me to start and get organised to make a good effort at home. I think it's easier now to recycle because bin companies, refuse collection companies, are making it easier by collecting recyclables one week and landfill rubbish the next week. Also, I have an arrangement with a friend. I take her recycling and she has a bin and she'll take my landfill. So there's loads of different ways you can go about recycling and changing your routines. At first I found recycling a little bit of an effort, but with time and practice really it becomes much easier and very satisfying, and you feel like you're doing your bit for the environment.
When I visit houses now that aren't recycling and they throw everything into the one bin, it's a bit weird, and I think it's a shame when they don't make the effort to recycle in their houses. So if your family hasn't started recycling yet, maybe you could be the person to make the change. Everyone has heard of the Reduce, Reuse, Recycle campaign. It really helps if we send as little waste as possible to landfill. Recycling facilities in Mayo have been gradually improving in recent years.
As you can see, there's a recycling centre here beside me, which has gone from strength to strength. There's now almost 6,000 customers per month using the site. As teenagers are, I suppose, the next generation of adults who are going to be working and living in this country, buying the various different types of products and all the rest of it. And it's important that they're environmentally aware in terms of making sure that they purchase goods that are environmentally friendly and have recyclable packaging, and also that they're aware of the various benefits that the recycling can bring to the environment in terms of reducing say paper, reducing the reliance on trees to be cut down. So every ton of paper saves approximately 17 trees from being cut down. Now it's important that the young people educate the older people, particularly their parents that may have just always burnt their litter out the back garden or whatever, and that they now bring it to a recycling centre where it's taken care of in an environmentally friendly way.
I'm Mary Duffy, and I use this facility once a week for my recycling and getting rid of all my household waste. I'm lucky that I live near this facility. So it's easy and it's cheap, it's cheaper, and it's looking after everything.
and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone? If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, or the times they are a-changing.
Everything has to be sorted out, baled up, and as you see, the baler here, and shipped off to other countries for recycling. It'll come back as obviously something else. Well, I think recycling is the way for the future now. People's had it too easy for too long of discarding rubbish that can be reused again, you know. And the greener way is the better way. Everybody's going the green way. And it's better if the young children of today look at it and say, well, this is the way forward. And teach the adults as well.
So it's up to us young people to teach the adults. After all, someday we'll be in charge of the environment. What are our hopes and concerns for the future?
My concern for the future is the race against waste. We live in a consumer society that is producing more and more waste all the time. As citizens, we need to start thinking more about how we can reduce the amount of waste we're producing. For example, we could choose more products with less packaging. We also need to think more about how we can reuse and recycle. I think our government and town council has a big role to play in this. There could be more done to improve curbside waste collections, for example. At the moment in Westport, a lot of very concerned citizens are making a 22-mile round trip to Derrynoomer in Newport and polluting the environment and using up valuable fossil fuels on the way to do their recycling. I really don't think this is necessary. I think we could improve things a lot where recycling is concerned.
I think it's essential for young people today to know how important the environment is, because in 10 and 20 years' time it'll be my generation that'll have to make all the big and the small decisions. So I think if they carry with them a positive attitude towards the environment, it will help them make the right decisions when it comes to when they're building their own houses and buying their houses, to use renewable resources instead of coal and oil, and it will also help them to make the right decision when it comes to voting for the right politician in that will help us look after the environment. I know at this stage they might only be dropping litter, but in 10 years' time, if they don't care for the environment when they're younger, they won't care when they're older either, and they'll just not be aware of what the fumes and the smoke is doing to the surrounding area. My dream for the future is that the vast majority of people will be working towards helping the environment, and there will be only a very small minority damage the environment. But that's not the way it is now. I would like helping the environment to become part of everyday life, so that the generations to come will have a clean environment which is healthy to live in and no pollution and a sustainable lifestyle.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces.
Wow, that's quite a challenge. It's obvious that we've still got a long way to go, but we've come a long way too. Westport has a beautiful environment. The postcards depict a perfect place, but although, as we've seen, the real story is somewhat different. But if we make caring for our environment part of everything we do every day, well then, things can only get better.
Can only get better. Can only get, take it all from me, you know. I know that things can only get better. I sometimes lose myself in me. I lose track of time, and I can't see the woods for the trees. You set them alive, but the bridges as you go. I do it to fight you. I got my personal hurt to deal with, and then you say, walk my path, wear my shoes, talk like that. I'll be an angel, and things can only get better. Can only get better. Now I found you, and you show me prejudice and greed, and you've shown me how I must learn to deal with this disease. I'll look at things now in a different light than I did before, and I found the cause, and I think that
Westport, because it's worth it.
Look at this. Come on.
Okay, sorry.
I'm out, I'm eligible. Right.
The worst places.
Okay,
What am I saying?
Massive.
One more.
How does this
Okay, wait. You ready? Okay.
Teach cars are here.
materials are
Well, now, as you can see yourself, we have the cornflakes boxes and some sort of a car. I don't actually know. Plastic.
What concerns do you have about the people of Westport? What changes would you like to do? What would you like to see?
I'd like to see that house now retiled. And, you know, just a few bits and bobs. They move now and I'll have a nice garden. Where am I? Whoa, close.